I am Fatma from Abrar Consult. Abrar Consult is a consultancy which is located in Nairobi, Kenya, and Dar es Salaam, Tanzania. It's a training and consultancy firm. We offer professional training and consultancy in various services as follows: Islamic finance, business management and leadership, entrepreneurship, wealth management, financial education, personal development, Sharia auditing, zakat calculation and distribution, waqf planning, halal business management, mirath calculations, family finance management, and halal investing. We kindly request you to visit our website, which is www.abrarconsult.co.ke at your free time. And also kindly follow our social media account, that is Facebook and Instagram, as Abrar Solutions. I would like to invite Mr. Khalfan in today's session, and I wish you all the best. Thank you.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وعلى آله وأصحابه أما بعد. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. اللهم فقهنا في الدين. اللهم إنا نسألك الحكمة الذي من أوتي فقد أوتي خيرا كثيرا. أما بعد. First and foremost, I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and may peace and prayers, may peace and blessings be to our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Dear participants, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I thank you as well for making time to participate in this short session on Islamic work ethics. I believe most of you knows me, but for those who don't know me, I'm the Managing Director of Abrar Consult, which has been introduced before you by Sister Fatma. I'm a professional banker and consultant on Islamic finance, having worked in the sector for more than 10 years. For more information about myself, you can get more details on our website, which is Abrar Consult, profiles of our leadership. That being said, dear beloved brothers and sisters, I will start now our session, and it is recorded for the benefits of those who have shared with us that they will not be able to make it today. We have a long session today, but also will be very fruitful and very engaging and very educating. And I look forward to your participations, your questions, your contributions. No one has the monopoly of knowledge except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are all students, researchers, and will continue to do research and continue to learn until our last breath. So what we have today, the content before you is as follows. We are going to look at ethics, what it means, nature of work, theories, foundation of ethics in Islam, and illustrated ethical virtues, or akhlaqum mahmuda, in life and business dealings. And also we are going to share ethical violation, or akhlaqum madhmuma, in life and business. Also, we'll conclude with the emerging issues on Islam, on ethics management. The objective of this session is as follows. Number one is to understand ethics from different or major or Western and Islamic worldview, Islamic perspective on nature of work. Also, we'll understand moral theories, and also we look forward to encouraging all of you who have participated today to pursue ethical virtues and avoid ethical violations in our lives, in our business dealings. So the overall objective here is to be aware of ethical values in order to implement them, and also aware of ethical violations in order to avoid them. Our first part of today's session is definitions. How is ethics understood in the Western world and in the Islamic perspective or Islamic worldview? As I said, I'll try my best to make it very engaging. It's going to be a long session. In that regard, I will be also looking forward for your contribution in this topic so that we can all learn from each other. In our topic, there are three words: Islamic work ethics. I'm starting with the ethics, and then work, and then Islamic. So from the linguistic perspective, the word ethics is said to have been derived from a Greek word, ethos, which means character or habit. But technically, ethics has been defined from the Western perspective in different way. If you research on this topic of ethics, you will get different definitions. So the one I'm using here is the one that has been provided and documented by Stockhouse in 1995, of which he said that ethics typically refers to innate knowledge of right, wrong, transcending religion and time. He tried to distinguish ethics from morals. So morals, he says, typically refers to culturally and religiously based distinction of what is right and what is wrong. So the key word here on ethics is it is an innate knowledge, according to Stockhouse, something that you are born with, you are programmed to know right, wrong, irrespective of in which society you come from, or religion you belong to, or time. There are different ages in human civilization, from Adam to now. So according to him, all humans are born with this innate knowledge of right and wrong. However, morals, these are learned, taught in a given society or in a given religion. This is what Stockhouse presents to us. However, other scholars have said that ethics, and this is from Churchill, Ethics means morality, which refers to the universal values, standards of conduct that every rational person would want every other individual to adhere to. Universal values, standards of conduct are key terms here. But in the field of philosophy, we understand that ethics is a branch of philosophy that study moral principles, rights and wrongs. In our professions, we have something called professional ethics, which refers to the codes of conduct established by the profession for all members of that profession to comply. So we have medical profession, they have their professional ethics. We have lawyers, we have engineers, we have Islamic finance professionals. They have their code of conduct established for members of that profession. But Churchill goes ahead to say that ethics is a systematic approach to understand, analyze, and ability to decide what is right and what is wrong. Ethics needs to be supported by sound reasoning. So as I said earlier, if you look at Western scholars defining this term ethics, you will find diverse words, diverse views. However, there could be a few things that we might take away. But before summarizing the key takeaways of ethics from Western perspective, let me also present to you that from Western perspectives, the word morals, principles, values, and ethics, though used interchangeably by common people, but there are differences. They are distinguished from the other. And this is according to Farrell and Friedrich in their book called Business Ethics. So they're saying morals are personal philosophies about what is right or wrong. Mark the word here, personal. So moral is a personal thing of what you decide is right or wrong. Is a set of values of right or wrong related to you alone. This is what is referred to as morals from the Western perspective. Then there are principles. Again, these are personal, specific boundaries for behavior that should not be violated. You as a person, you have your own principles. You have set your principle to say that these are boundaries. This is what I'll do, this I'll never do. The principles are normally boundaries. Then values. Values are enduring beliefs and ideals that are socially imposed. Now, this is at the social level, not at the personal level. Values belongs to society. So we have Tanzanian values, we have Kenyan values. A society at a given time believe on what is right or what is wrong. So if you live in the Western world, they have Western values. And they keep on saying this, that we see Muslims are incompatible to Western values. Because as a society, the Western society has certain beliefs on what is right and what is wrong. So for example, in Western value, you can kiss your girlfriend in the public. But definitely in Islamic or Muslim values, you cannot kiss even your wife in public. Ethics then is behavior or decision made within a group's value. So according to these scholars, ethics is something within a group. What is right, what is wrong, decided in a certain group setting, not a personal setting. So here's like a professional ethics. We have professionals. This is a group of people belonging to a certain profession. They have the rights and they have the wrongs. Things they have agreed, things they have decided to be the do's or the don'ts in that profession. So there could be American ethics in the sense that these, or in the meaning that these are behaviors, these are decisions that American citizens uphold. And they're coming from their belief to what is right and what is wrong. In short, the main features of ethics from Western perspective. Number one is ethics is an evolving set of values and principles. Also, ethics is a systematic approach to decide what is right or wrong. More importantly, in Western perspective, ethics needs to be supported by sound reasoning. It should make sense. Again, ethics is a branch of philosophy. Also, ethics is a social group matter. It's not an individual matter. It's what the society has agreed to a certain set of values at a particular place and time. Before I proceed with ethics in Islamic worldview, I'd like to ask if there is anyone who has a question or contribution on this particular point of ethics from Western perspective. If you want to ask or contribute, you can raise up your hand or you can unmute and share your thoughts. To proceed further, ethics from the Islamic worldview, we say these are principles, boundaries of which somebody will not violate those boundaries. Ethics are values, are beliefs on what is right and what is wrong, derived from Islamic sources, which is Quran and the teachings of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as well as numerous precedents set by Islamic jurists, Islamic ulamas. To put it in a broader way, I like this definition given by IOFI, Code of Ethics. IOFI is an organization that issues standards for Islamic financial institutions based in Bahrain. They're saying that the ethics from an Islamic worldview is doing the right thing with the right intention and the right mindset in the right manner, even when not being observed by anybody, any human, to the best of one's capability. This reminds me a position of Ibn Taymiyyah, who said that a good deed has two things. One, their intention should be good. and the manner of which that deed is performed should be according to the rules of Sharia. So, for example, you buy the knife. The intention of buying the knife should be okay, should be good, which is maybe to use for your household. But we know somebody can also buy a knife in order to rob somebody, to threaten somebody. So for it to be a good deed, number one, the intention should be good. Number two, how are you getting? How does that knife comes to your hand? Are you going to steal it? Or are you going to pay for it? Or are you going to lease it? If you are buying it, it should be done according to the Sharia rules. That there should be buy and sellers. You pay the price, you get your knife. This completes that action to be a good deed because the intention is good. You want the knife for your personal use, household use. The way you acquired it, the way you performed it to have the knife is you paid for it. And so the action is good. The opposite is you buy the knife, the intention is to kill somebody with it, which is a bad intention, though the mechanism of which you get the knife is you buy it. Ibn Taymiyyah says, even if you have bought it in the right way, you acquired in the right way, but the intention was bad, this action becomes bad. It's a bad deed because the whole motive for you to buy that knife was to harm somebody, to kill somebody. So all of this, and if your intention is bad, to kill somebody, to harm somebody, but again, your action, you stole it. This makes it much worse. It's indeed very bad. Intention is bad. The way you acquired it is bad. Is a complete 100% a bad deed. Dear participants, I hope you understand this concept that in Sharia, a good deed, it has to have a good intention. It has to be performed according to Sharia and is now classified as a good deed. So I hope you expand this understanding from these previous scholars' understanding to say that the right intention should be there, the right mindset should be there, the right manner. Yeah? And you should do it in the right way, even if nobody sees it. The main features of ethics from the Islamic perspective is that ethics entails principles, values, and vices as prescribed by Sharia. So what Sharia says, these are acceptable values, these are unacceptable values. That is the way we understand ethics from the Islamic perspective. It originates from Quran and from Hadith. Another feature of ethics from the Islamic perspective is that ethics has a special place in Islam. We know in Islam, after the ideology, after the Aqidah, we have Sharia and we have Akhlaq. So Islam, if you look at it from the bigger picture, you see that the branches of Islam is number one, Aqidah, matters of belief, and then there is Sharia, which in Sharia there are ibadat and muamalat, and then there is Akhlaq. So it has a special place. You can't be a good Muslim just by believing and by observing Sharia and then you have bad manners. You don't abide to the Islamic akhlaq. So it has a special place. Now, ethics in Islamic perspective are values for Muslims. But even non-Muslims can embrace these values, and these values applicable in private and social life. We don't have values for the public and values for the private. Muslim, the way he lives inside his home, the values that he embraces in his home should be the same with what you embrace outside. The values you uphold in your personal life is the same principle and values that you need to apply in business. So if honesty, for example, is something you practice in your family, in your private life, you always tell your kids the truth, your wife, your brothers and sisters. It's the same principle of honesty that you need to uphold when you're in business, when you're at work. You cannot say that I'm honesty at home and I can be dishonesty in business, because without being dishonest in business, you will not sell. You have to lie to invite some good customers, good deals. That is not an Islamic perspective of ethics. Ethics applies in both private and social. Now, this is the objective of Islamic ethics. The supreme objective of Islamic ethics is to achieve, number one, adl, which literally means justice, equity, fairness, equilibrium. And the second objective of Islamic ethics is ihsan, excellence. The Prophet ﷺ is reported to have said that إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I've been sent to live and to teach best manners, excellent manners. So Islamic values seeks to make me and you the best we can be as the servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to make us excellent human beings, as what Allah wants us to be. وَلَقَدْ كَرَّمْنَا بَنِي آدَمَ. We have indeed exalted the status of human being. That level can only be achieved with good manners. This is according to IOFI, Code of Ethics. They have summed up the concept or the equation of adl and ihsan, that in order to achieve al-adli, to be people who are just, people who are excellent, number one, we need to have the right intention and the right mindset. We need to be doing things the right way and doing the right thing and engage with others positively. So if you're to put the equation, this is how it will look like. So I hope we have the understanding of Islamic view on ethics. If there is a question, you can ask. If you have a contribution to make, please, you're most welcome. As I said earlier, I would like to make it more engaging as much as possible. So if you have a question up to here, you have a contribution to make, you're welcome. Welcome, Hashim Kekiba.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. I just wanted to recommend or request if we can do something about the background echo. There's echo sound. Looks like either there are two devices in the same room, so one is picking the echo of the other, or there's another something that is causing echo sound, and it kind of reduces the audibility. Thank you.
Hello. How is it now?
Yes, I maybe as you keep talking, yeah, I can't hear it now. Maybe in the next
Okay.
2-3 seconds,
Yeah.
we'll see.
True. There are two devices before me, but I've tried to separate them a bit far so that there is no much echo. I hope now is a bit better.
Yeah, it is reduced. It can still be heard on the background, but it has been reduced.
All right. Any other contribution? Any question? Okay. So I have an exercise here. We call this check your EQ, your ethical content. So take a pen and pencil, take a pen and paper, and let us do this simple check on our ethical content. So I hope everybody has taken a pen and a paper to just write yes or no before this statement. The statement number 1 says, ethics focus on personal ethical issues. So if you agree with it, say yes. If you don't, say no. So put 1 yes or 1 no. Number 2, business ethics deals with what is right or wrong behavior in a particular organization. You can put again yes or no. And continue like that to the 10th question. I'll give you, say, 2 minutes. The 2 minutes are over. I hope everyone has attempted the question, and the one that you're not sure, maybe you have left it blank. So how was it? How is the test? How is this check? Anyone? What's the reaction? How do you find this statement? Anyone? Feel free to contribute. How do you find this assessment? Yes, Hashman.
So Khalfan, it appears like I have a few too many no's, which is I don't know now whether that would mean that I haven't grasped the subject matter properly. But yes, it appears to me like, for example, question 1 through to 4, I have no's. So I have been actually trying to kind of correct myself and say, okay, does this make sense? But then ethic focuses on personal ethical issues. I say, no, it's a no, because it's personal, but as well as societal, it has to be overall. And then going all the way to 5. So number 5 appears like, the only thing that I have, the first yes that I have there. So I don't know, maybe I'll hear from others, but it appears to me like I have more no's than yes in that, unless I move out of the context. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. What about the others?
Hello?
Have you all attempted this assessment?
Hello?
Why no? Is it difficult?
Hello?
Yes, I hear you, Camille.
Okay.
Continue.
On my side, depending on what the previous contributor have said, I have also few yeses. I have only 2 yeses. A yes on point number 5 and a yes on point number 10. But the remaining points are no for me. On the yes from point number 5, core values are enduring beliefs about appropriate conduct. That's okay with me. And the 10th one, the first step in ethical decision making is to understand the individual factors that influence the process of ethical and unethical behavior. On the no's, most of the points are person oriented and not a general societal oriented. So I chose to say no on ethics that focuses only on personal issues, because if there is an individual in a society or two that have good ethics living in a society that is unethical, there is a big chance that those two can end up being unethical in the near future. So ethics focuses or should focus on the general society at large. And on point number 4, number 7, ethical leadership is solely the concern of top management. It isn't, because this is a bottom-up type of managing ethical issues. So if it is to be done appropriately, it should be started to mere officers upwards to the top management. Because if the mere officers are unethical, it will be very difficult and very hard for top management to manage ethical issues on such staff or officers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Camille. Thank you so much. Salum?
Thank you, Sheikh Alfan. I think for me, in addition to what others have said, that we have much of no's without further explanation. I have an additional yes. Number 8, although it might look a bit constrained than the generic, but I agree that yes, ethical conflict occur, or I can say can occur when there are two or more positions on a decision that conflict with personal or organizational goals. In this case, I take the word organizational to also mean either a society or community. So in its generality, then there could be ethical conflict that from at the beginning, we have the definition of ethical to be personal, that can be from one person different from the other, or it can be industrial, that what is unethical in one industry can be ethical in the other industry. So I think number 8 also is yes, but again, that can be corrected depending on what others see.
All right, thank you so much, all of you, for very good contribution. So I'll give you the answers, and you will mark yourself and get to gauge your content, whether your ethical content is high or low, based on your own self-assessment. So the first one, ethical, focuses on personal ethical issues. I agree with you. That is no. Ethics focuses beyond personal ethical issues. Business ethics deals with what is right or wrong behavior in a particular organization. The answer here is, if it is business, and every organization has different kind of business, but if you look at from the Western perspective, the answer will definitely be yes, but actually from the Islamic perspective, business ethics is not separated from personal ethics. So business ethics deals with what is right or wrong in a particular organization, but also outside of a particular organization. It's not confined in a particular organization. So the answer here is no. From the Islamic point of view. But from the Western point of view, they will say yes. Ethical culture are based on the norms and values of a company. Again, it is no, from the Islamic point of view. Ethical culture is based on the norms and values as dictated by Sharia. From the Islamic point of view, ethical culture are based on the norms and values, not of the company, as dictated by Sharia. So the answer is no. Investment in business ethics do not support the bottom line. Well, this now requires empirical studies to answer it. Does upholding business ethics, upholding ethics in business, does it brings more profit? Well, studies that I have seen appears to support that, yes, investment in business ethics support the bottom line. But in a Muslim perspective, it doesn't matter really if it support the business bottom line or not. A Muslim has to be ethical, has to know ethical values, uphold them. If he makes profit, fine. If he doesn't make profit, fine. The Prophet ﷺ said, hold it truthful even if it is painful, costly. So we'll say here that investment in business ethics You do not support the business line. No. Core values are enduring beliefs about appropriate conduct. Yes. The key goal of ethical training is to identify ethical issues. No, it's beyond that. It's beyond identifying ethical issues. It's about understanding ethics, its benefits.
Yeah, Khalfani, a quick question.
And it is risks, etc., etc. We'll take your question once I finish. I finish this slide. Ethical leadership is solely the concern of top management. No. Ethical leadership is not the concern of top management, it's a concern of everyone. Every Muslim should be practicing ethical values. But of course, leaders have more responsibility to enforce ethical values in an organization or in a society. Has more burden, so to speak, but doesn't mean that it starts and ends with top management. Number 8, it is yes, ethical conflicts occur when there are two or more positions on a decision that conflicts with your personal goal. You will have a conflict there. There is a position, or there's a route to be taken, but that route is in conflict with your, maybe your interest or your worldview or whatever. So number 8 is yes, ethical conflict occurs in that way. Number 9 is no. The most significant influence on ethical behavior in society is the opportunity. Not only the opportunity that makes people behave unethically, but also we understand it is also personal factors or organizational factors. There are personal factors and organizational factors that also contribute to people being ethical or unethical. It's not just an opportunity that nobody sees me. For example, there's no CCTV camera. If I steal here, nobody will know. That represents an opportunity. But this is not enough. Somebody might still not steal because of personal factor. He believes that's the wrong thing to do. So it's not the opportunity that is the main influence to engage in an ethical behavior. So the answer here is no. And number 10, it is no. The first step in ethical decision-making is to understand the individual factors that influence the process of ethical or unethical behavior. You say no. The first step is to understand ethics itself. What is ethical, what is not ethical, rather than to understand individual factors. First, you have to understand what is ethical and what is not ethical. And that's what we are trying to achieve also today, is to make it clear as to what is ethical, what is mahmuda, what is madhmuma. Okay. And then, of course, you need to understand individual factors that also make people ethical or unethical, but it is not the first step. So the answer is no. I hope now you have your score. You know where you are. You know whether you have scored 10 over 10 or short of that. And that represents where you are now, which tells you if you have achieved 10 over 10, it doesn't mean that you are malaika. That means according to this assessment, you're somewhere, you're better off. And if you have achieved lower, doesn't mean you are shaitan. This means you need to invest in understanding this subject more. Salim Lupande, you can now contribute or ask.
Yes, mine is not a contribution, rather a clarification. at the initial stage of undertaking this assignment, I got a bit entangled with number 5, especially the interpretation of words. The word enduring, to me, was sounding like persevering and taking the pain, of which I was entangled. I was in between saying no and yes. In this case, my interpretation was core values are persevering beliefs about appropriate conduct. So I don't know where I would have been missing the English translation of the word enduring, and hence up to this point in time, I'm entangled between yes and no. If you can clarify.
Okay. Well, you can go, it is good to go back to the definitions of the terms. Here, what I'm understanding, enduring beliefs are long-term. Things you believe in over time. They are not short-term beliefs. These are things you believe in, maybe for the rest of your life, to be right or to be wrong. That's what I understand in the word enduring. It's not about persevering, tolerating, or something like that. It is enduring beliefs. These are beliefs. These are things you believe in for a long time, over time, in your life. You can even die with that belief. You are not changing midway. Okay. So that's what I can say about it. So we have discussed ethics, but another key word in our topic of today is Islamic work ethic. So let's look at work. It is work, work, work. What do we understand about work? Why do we work? Pick an answer. Do we work for a fame or glory? Money? To be useful? We have to. All above. None of above. Where you are. What is the nature for? To, in your view. And if you have another answer that is not here, you can note it down and share with us. But meantime, have something like self-examination, looking at yourself. If you're working, why do we work? So 1 minute or 30 seconds to pick your answer. Why do we work? Or why do you work? Why do you wake up in the morning and go to work? I would really like to hear somebody who has okay. Basically, if option A to D are not reflecting Y, then your answer will be F, none of the above. And if you do for all of these, then it could be E, all above. But if there's only one specific among these, then you can choose where. So if I'm to engage you, do you think it is the right attitude to do a work for a fame or glory? You go to work and for pride, for fame, or for glory, or for money. Do the work for money. Just to be useful. Just to be useful. You know. We have to. We have bills to pay, or we have to do something. I hope you have picked your answers. Let's continue. The nature of work. How do you perceive work? Do you perceive work as Adam's curse? And this is from the Christian perspective, that Adam, after eating that fruit, he was taken to earth and condemned to do hard labor, to eat and drink and things like that. Because of the sins of Adam, or further, we are condemned to work. It's Adam's curse. Or it is a necessary evil to be avoided where possible. A burden. Work is a burden. There's a means to an end. Maybe all of this. Maybe none of this. What is your thinking? What do you think about the nature of work? I'd like to hear one of you on your thoughts about the nature of work. Anyone? It doesn't have necessarily to say it reflects you. You can say it in another in a way that not necessarily reflects you, if you don't want to portray a certain position about yourself. But this is something that requires us to reflect on. We wake up in the morning, we go to work. Why? What is our mentality towards the work? The nature of work. How is our mental framing of work? Do we see it as necessary evil, a burden, or what? It is very important. If we are to uphold Islamic work ethics, we need to have a right mentality about work. Yes, Kamil.
On Islamic point of view, work is ibadah. Apart from praying 5 times a day, apart from going to Hajj, but also work is ibadah. On individual point of view, most of us youth, we believe that we work so as to meet ends needs. And also we work so as to feed our elderlies. And for instance, our retired parents and our siblings who are yet to depend on themselves. So my question on what is it on the 5 items I see on the screen, my answer is none of the above. Because from my point of view, is ibadah. I have to work so as for Allah to grant me risk. I also have to work so as to gain some dignity in myself and those who depend on me. I have to work so as to be recognized as someone. It's not all about to be known or to have fame or to have glory, but you have to work to be seen as a responsible either father or mother or brother. That's it.
Another one? Anyone else? Thank you, Kamil, for very good contribution. Okay, as you think about it, someone called Khalil Gibran, and frankly speaking, for us to embrace Islamic work ethics, we need to have a proper frame of mind on how we see work. I think if we see work in the way that Kamil explained, with just I have just one disagreement with what he said, but if we see it as ibadah, is a way to gain pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is a way to enable yourself contribute to make the world a better place, to be able to not depend on others, to get Allah's rizq, to fulfill your duty to your family. Avoid the word sin. You are not supposed to be seen by anybody. You are supposed to be seen by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, fulfilling your duty. So the nature of work, this philosopher is saying, work is love made visible. If you want to know what you love, we look at what you work. What are you working with? This is not an Islamic perspective. I'm saying what this philosopher said. This philosopher said, if you want to see somebody's love, what he loves, look at what he does. But of course, many of us, perhaps we are not doing what we love. Though some could be true. And that brings one of the problems we have in our society when it comes to work. Somebody is teaching, but he really doesn't like teaching, doesn't love it. He wants money. He wants money. He has ends to it. So it's a necessary evil. It starts to become a necessary evil, to do as little as you can. It all starts from the framing. How are you seeing work? This guy also said, this philosopher, to love life through our labor is to be intimate with life's inmost secrets. To do what you love is fulfilling. But as I said, we have a mismatch here. And that brings so many other issues. So we need to see work as an essential element of humanity. Essential element of humanity. As a human being, you have a duty to work. And in working, you understand your purpose of why you're here in a way. Key to our search for meaning as individuals and a way to find fulfillment for our lives. However, this is from the Western perspective. At least the philosophers, Western philosophers are saying that you should look at work as a search for meaning. And so we have this philosopher called Viktor Frankl, who wrote a book called In Search of Meaning. He says we can find meaning in 3 places. We can find our purpose of being. Though we Muslims know we are here for what? For ibadah. But this guy, these Western philosophers said this, that we can find meaning in 3 places. Work. Can know why we are here based on what we work, the work we do, love, and encourage. But in an Islamic point of view, in Islam, work is service to Almighty, a form of worship in the path of Allah. Surah Al-Kahf, Allah says, those who believe and work with righteousness, verily we shall not suffer to perish the reward of any who do a single righteous deed. الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات is a common phrase in the Quran. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا. عمل. You have to work. You believe. It's essential, it's important, but you have to do a good work. You have to work, do good deeds. That is What will make you out of the khusran, out of being lost? Allah loves that whenever any of you does a work of any kind, you should perfect it. This is a hadith. This should be our way of looking at work. When you're given a work, when you are in a work, you know, I'm in ibadah. I seek to please Allah in what I'm doing. I'm doing to the best of my ability. I look forward for Allah's reward. But I also look forward through what I'm working, Allah's to grant me rizq. It is known in Islam that the person who strives for his rizq in order to feed himself, in order to feed his dependents, the wife and kids, or your father, or you work so that you don't depend, you don't beg for others. Such a person is considered as mujahid in Islam. فَهُوَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. And this is a prophetic narration, authentic narration. Say that a person, the Sahaba saw a gentleman with muscles and, you know, person appears to be, in our language here, isema mtu alijaza misuli, yani uko fiti sana. So Sahaba saw this guy and said, we wish for this guy to be in the war zone, in the battlefield. It would have been better for him. The Prophet, hearing that, he said, if this man has left his house so that he can get what to eat, so that he can work or can do business to make ends meet for himself, فَهُوَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. He is in the path of Allah. Also, if he worked out of his house in order to again gain livelihood to feed his family, wife and kids and parents, is also fi sabilillah. And also, if he does that in order to prevent himself from begging, depending on others, women, is also fi sabilillah. But the person who walk out to work in order to be seen, that is a hard worker or is this or that or whatever, to be seen. His intent is to be seen that is this or that. Or fi sabili shaitan, is in the path of shaitan. So this is a well-known view in Islam that the nature of work is ibadah. Somebody who works with the right intention, as mentioned in this hadith, not to show off, not to be seen, nothing. You do your work the best of your knowledge in something that Allah has permitted in a right manner. You are a mujahid. More so, this guy called Habad Jolly. I mean, the Western are also realizing that we cannot motivate people to work based on money and things like that. We need to have a noble purpose to give people to work. So he's saying work should not be about collecting paycheck. It's not about selling a product. It's not about it is about putting a joy, happiness in a person. Now, the Western perspective now on the positive framing is on you work to put a joy in someone else. Is about utilitarian philosophy, as we shall see. But again, as I said, Islam it is more compelling positive view on work. That if we are able to embrace it, wallahi, we Muslims will be the preferred candidate to be employed in any work, because people get to know that these guys, when they work, it's not to please the employer, but first to please the Almighty. They give it all. They do to their best. They achieve, or they seek to achieve excellence. It would have been a good da'wah. But here we are. So, leaving that, the issue of work, after having understood it from the Islamic perspective, now let's look at ethical theories. There are two major theories in ethics. Not really two. There are many, but for our discussion, we'll limit to two. When I was doing my master's in leadership and management, we had a paper, a subject called ethical leadership. And in ethical leadership, you study varieties of theories, different theories. And if you read books on ethics, you will find the theory. Theories are explanations that tries to justify what is right, or how people see what is right and what is wrong. So there are two major, but there are so many others. But for this discussion, there is what is called the ontological theory and teleological theory. So teleological theory, or we start with the ontological theory, it believes that what is good based on itself. Something is good because it's good, not because of the consequences of that behavior. So truth is good because it's good to speak the truth. To lie is bad thing because it's bad. Lying is bad by itself, not considering the consequences. The opposite of this is the other theory, which is teleological theory, which says that the truth is good if the consequence is good. So if you speak the truth, you end up getting fired. That is not a value. It's not a noble thing on the teleological perspective. And that is actually falling under a theory within this teleological theory called egoism. If you lie and you get a customer, that's good. Teleological point of view. If you lie and you get a customer, that's good. But this theory says, no, we don't look at the consequence of a behavior. We consider behavior to be good based on its merits. So here we have two sub-theories under this category. It's called Kantian, from a German philosopher called Kant, Immanuel Kant, with his theory, duty ethics, of which he says that something that is your duty to do is right. It's the right thing to do because it's your duty, it's your responsibility. You are a father. You have duty to take care of your family. So to work, to provide for your family is an ethical thing, is your duty. There are laws in the countries that requires you to do a certain thing and not to do a certain thing. It's your duty to do what the laws requires. And that is right by itself, being a duty, being a citizen in that country, or being a member of a particular profession, you have a duty. So you have to do it. It's a good thing because it's falling under your duties. Then we have divine common theory. This is whereby we say Something is good because Allah said is good. Something is bad because Allah says bad. It's not about the consequence of a behavior, but is because it's a divine command. And this is where we Muslims falls into this theory that we get our values, our principles based on the Quran, based on the divine sources. What Allah says is good. Full stop. وَإِذَا قُلْتُمْ فَعْدِلُوا وَلَوْ كَانَ ذَا قُرْبَى. Allah says, when you speak, balance. وَقُولُوا لِلنَّاسِ حُسْنًا. When you speak, speak nice words. Khalas, have to talk nicely. Allah said so. It's not about the consequence of that when you talk nice, the consequence will be nice. Whether the consequences are nice or bad doesn't matter. You have to speak nicely. It's a divine command. So Islamic ethics falls under this theory of divine command theory. We look at a value and look at the sources of Sharia, what Sharia says on this value. If it says it's a good thing, it's good. If it's a bad, it's bad. An example of a moral issue. An individual in a leadership position finds out an employee has been lying about the reason he has been late for work, citing an ill family member. Somebody who is subscribing to Kantian or duty theory, the leader that supervises this worker who is always late for work will say, it is wrong to lie, and you will be reprimanded because I'm always honest with you and expect the same from every employee. That you have a duty here to be honest. And so when you lie, you breach that duty. You go against the duty of being honest. So it's not about God said lie is wrong or whatever. No, it is because you had a duty to be honest. You had a duty to be honest. You have the responsibility to be honest. But from the religious moral theory or the divine common theory, the leader will reprimand that employee citing religious reasons. It is wrong to lie and you'll be reprimanded. God, this is where God commanded us to be honest. And we are not to disobey his will of being honest. This is to illustrate these two theories under the ontology. Now, teleological theory is the opposite of that. It looks at the consequence of a behavior. It is stated that the moral worth of an action or practice determined solely by the consequence of action or practice. In simple word, the ethicality of an action is determined solely by the result it produces. And here we have two major theories, utilitarianism and ethical egoism. And sometimes some of us are really behaving in this way, actually. Shaitan, console yourself that, I've lied. If I've spoken the truth, I would have lost the business. So you lied because you want to achieve certain interest. That is called ethical egoism, self-interest. It's an ethical egoism perspective, self-interest. You do certain behaviors for self-interest. Even those behaviors, a rational person will not consider those behaviors to be noble. But since doing that makes you fulfill or achieve a certain benefit, you do it. Here we find a lot of ethical violations due to ethical egoism. I steal because I want to be rich. I gamble because I want to be rich. It's all about you achieving a certain consequence. So it doesn't matter the means. So here, the word means, the end justify the means make total sense under this theory. Doesn't matter the means, is all about the outcome. If my outcome is achieved, then the means is okay. Utilitarianism is about the benefit of many, not an individual. Something is good because it benefits many people. Something is bad because it harms many people. So ethical egoism is at individual level. Something is good because the consequence you get out of it is good to you. But under utilitarianism, something is good because it brings benefits to many. And most of the public decisions in the Western world are framed on utilitarianism, benefits to many. So smoking in public will be considered bad because it harms many people. So if you want to smoke, smoke privately in your own smoke house. Because under utilitarianism, if something harms many people, it becomes bad. And if something benefits many people, it becomes good. So here will be, again, the same scenario, the different response. The employee has been lying for being late to work, citing an ill family member. The leader under utilitarianism will say, it is wrong to lie, and you'll be reprimanded. Because when you lie and come into work late, the whole group suffers. Because they have to work harder. If you were part of the work and now you're absent. So somebody has to do more. You see, you're harming others because of being late to work. This is utilitarian way of looking at this behavior or addressing this issue. Ethical egoism, the leader will respond, it is wrong to lie and you'll be reprimanded. Because when you lie and come into work late, you are harming others and they will harm you in return. So watch out. So this is to say that your bad behavior will end up harming yourself. And since it's going to harm yourself, is a bad thing. It's not in your best interest to be late, because those that have to fill that gap for you, you're harming them and they will not be happy with that. They will harm you. I hope it is clear. These are the theories. As I said, from an Islamic point of view, we belong into the divine command theory, not the others. Look at what Quran says, what Hadith says, what Muslim jurists or Salaf, Salihin understood particular issue and their position on it as to whether it's halal, is haram, is mubaha, is makruh, and so on. So what is the foundation of ethics in Islam? As I said sometime earlier, that ethics is a third building block of Islam after Aqidah and Sharia. So it has a very special place. We derive ethical values from the Quran and from the Sunnah. These are sources of so many things in Islam, of Aqidah, of Sharia, of ethics, of Muamalat. We derive the principles, guidance from Quran and Sunnah. Now, if you look at the Quran, there are multiplex ethics in the Quran. Now, there are different levels of ethics in the Quran. The first one is reciprocal ethics, the qisas. وَلَكُمْ فِي الْقِصَاصِ حَيَاةٌ يَا أُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Allah says that in retaliation, reciprocal approach, there is life for those who understand. So if somebody harm you, you are required, you are allowed to harm equivalent to the harm that he has suffered to you, that you have suffered. But again, there are boundaries. So somebody lied to you, you can't apply the reciprocal ethics saying lying to him as well, and that being Islamic. No, that is not what I mean here by reciprocal ethics from the Quran. Reciprocal ethics applies in bodily injuries or in property damages. Somebody has caused you harm to your body. Al-aynu bil-ayn, wal-udhunu bil-udhun, al-anfu bil-anf. No, that's reciprocal. فَمَنْ قُتِلَ مَظْلُومًا فَقَدْ جَعَلْنَا لِوَلِيِّهِ سُلْطَانًا. If somebody has killed, has to be killed. If somebody stole, should you go and steal? No, doesn't apply. You have the right of reciprocity of claiming, demanding your stolen property back. But you can't steal. You become two thieves if you go and steal. If somebody has harmed your kid, do you go and harm his kid? No. His kid is not involved. If he harms your kid, you have the right of qisas on him. But unfortunately, there are these laws of jungles that we apply. We think that we misunderstand our religion. If I harm my kid, I harm his kid. No, where is that in Islam? Reciprocity, reciprocal ethics has its own application and its own boundaries. Some people will say, if ukitembea na mke wangu na mimi natafuta mke wako bwana. That's not reciprocal. Al-qisasu haqqu. My friend, that's not al-qisasu haqqu. That is, you make two zani. Unakuwa mzinzi na yule mzinzi tu. Hakuna kisasa hapo. That is totally a crisis in your mind. You don't understand. This one level. This is one level of Quranic ethics, that if you suffered a bodily injury, if somebody has caused suffering on your property, you have the right of qisas within the boundaries of Sharia. But then we go to the next level, which is an upper level, a bit upper and reciprocal, which is tolerant ethics. فَمَنْ عَافَ وَأَصْلَحَ فَأَجْرُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ. You have the right to reciprocate, but then you say, I'll have sabr. I forgive him. He harmed me. I have the right to do qisas, but I've chosen to forgive. Quran encourages this. وَمَنْ عَافَ وَأَصْلَحَ فَأَجْرُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ أو كما قال سبحانه وتعالى. And whoever forgive and forgo will have his reward before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the third level, which is a higher level of Quranic ethics, is altruistic ethic. It's about responding cruelty with goodness and prioritizing the needs of others. This is hard for many of us, but this is the highest level. There are several verses in the Quran. One of them, Allah says, trying to remember the verse, but it says, وَمَنْ عَافَ, not وَمَنْ عَافَ وَأَصْلَحَ. There is a verse that I forgot, it is Arabic. wording, but means remove bad with righteousness. Somebody does you bad thing, counter that with a good thing. Somebody insulted you, rather than taking any measures or whatever, for example, you pray for him. Somebody is insulting you and they say, may Allah hadik, may Allah hadik, may Allah guide you. Somebody is doing something very bad to you, but you do good to him. This is altruistic ethics. Or sometimes is somebody doesn't do anything to you, but you do good to him. You good to him. لا نريد منكم جزاء ولا شكورا. This guy is speaking bad of you. I don't care, I still do good to him. Al-ithar, the behavior of sacrificing for others. Rather than getting me, I prefer my brothers to get rather than me. I'll be the last. If you want to see Muslims in discipline is in the feast, katika wali. Wali unapoanza kuja pale, kila mtu anakuwa na subra. No, everyone is impatient, wants for himself. An altruist applying this principle will prefer others before himself. وَيُؤْثِرُونَ عَلَى أَنفُسِهِمْ وَلَوْ كَانَ بِهِمْ خَصَاصَةٌ. Allah praises them. That they put themselves behind and prefer others to get the good things. That is altruistic ethics in the Quran. So these are 3 levels of ethics in the Quran. In Hadith, there's so many verses, so many traditions, Hadith, that talks about ethics. أحب الناس إلى الله أنفعهم للناس. Let me play this video. She speaks in Arabic, but you can look at the video and get the message. So for those who understand Arabic, it will be +2. But even those who don't worry. The image tells it all. The most beloved person before Allah is somebody who is beneficial to others. That's what it means. Okay, so I hope you get the message there. That this is a value that unfortunately most of us have forgotten. That you be nice to others without respecting anything in return. You do good because it's good, and you do live bad because it's bad. You do good because for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah said this is a good thing to do, you do. You benefit others, benefit your family, you benefit your neighbors, you benefit your community, you benefit your nation, you benefit. لا نريد منكم جزاء ولا شكورا. أحب الناس إلى الله أنفعهم للناس. One day the Prophet ﷺ said, "Inna min ash-shajari shajara la yasqutu waraqaha wa huwa mithlu al-mu'min." Among the trees, there is a tree that resemble a Muslim. The leaves are not falling. Mti huu hauangushi majani yake. Nabiuni mahu. Kauliza masahaba, ask the companions. Tell me, what is that tree? There was Umar ibn al-Khattab there, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, Umar ibn al-Khattab, Ali ibn Abi Talib, and so on. Everyone was struggling, not able to respond to that question. People thinking in their heart, but they're not sure. If I'm asking you, if you were there in that audience of the Prophet ﷺ, what will be your answer? A tree that resembles a Muslim. So back to you. Imagine you were there with the Prophet ﷺ, and he's asking this question. What will be your answer? And of course, if somebody knows that narration, knows this hadith, you can tell us what was the prophetic answer? What was the answer, the answer of the Prophet ﷺ? What's the name of the tree? Anyone, please. Anyone wants to try? What is that tree that resembles a Muslim? Or anyone who knows the answer of the Prophet ﷺ? Feel free, guys, to share. So this is exactly how it was during the Prophet ﷺ. All people were quiet, just like you are here. Quiet. Everybody's thinking, is it this or that or this or that? But the answer was very, it sounds obvious, but it's not obvious. He said, it is a dead palm. Intende. So I remember there is a book called by the one of the former leaders of the Azhar University, Imam, I think, forgot his name. He wrote a book completely explaining this hadith on how resembling a dead palm with a believer. Okay. And he mentioned several things. The first thing he said is that Mtende, a dead palm, is full of benefits, full of benefits. You can hardly find any harm coming from a dead palm. Mtende au kila kitu chake kina manufaa. Matunda yake, the fruits are healthy, good. Matawi yake are used for constructions, of course, those days. Tawi mitende. Lile gogo lake, used for construction as well. Paka mizizi yake is good for ardhi, for land conservation. It improves the land. So that's how a Muslim should be. A Muslim should be beneficial. There's no position there's no room for Muslim to harm, to do harm. The output of a Muslim, if we resemble it with the output of a dead plum, should be sweet, should be nice. Come on, tende. Tende, what it produces is something good, tasteful, healthy, delicious. That should be the work of a Muslim. The output should be good, should be nice. And then he said another feature of a dead palm is that يؤخذ قليلا وينفق كثيرا. The nature of a palm tree, what it takes, it doesn't need a lot of water, it doesn't need a lot of fertilizer, it doesn't need a lot. It survives with a little, but it gives a lot. Just its existence as a tree, you have a shade there. Then you are aminan when you are down the date plum. You're under the shade. If it is time for harvesting the fruit, you get the fruit. If it is too old, you no longer need it. You can get the leaves and build a house, or you can have it is everything is beneficial. That's how a Muslim should be. Now you ask yourself, wherever you are you resembling a dead palm, being beneficial, being taking little and giving more? Or we are the guys who need more and give little? So that is from the Sunnah. To just give it a brief discussion, or in brief, because there are so many narrations on the Sunnah about ethics. But be satisfied with this given our short time. So, maqasid Sharia in ethics. What the objectives of Sharia in ethics? Okay, is number one is to promote virtue. The objective of Sharia in ethics is to promote virtue, maslaha, and is to prevent vices. So there are certain ethical values enjoined or prescribed in the Quran and the Sunnah. The aim is to make us to benefit us, and also there are injunctions that aims to prevent harm. That's the objective of Sharia on ethical values. So sometimes we might not know the reason, the reasoning as to whether doing this is beneficial or not doing is beneficial. But we should understand that the overall objective of Sharia on ethics and in so many other things is to promote benefits and to prevent harm. And it does so by promoting benefits on matters to do with faith, or with the life, or with the nasli, progeny, or mind, or property. So, for example, on a matter of faith, it's clear there's tawheed here. Qul huwa Allahu ahad. We are required to believe on that. There's only supreme power that you should believe in. So what's the benefit of that? Okay, now that could be a subject of a lot of reasoning and so on and so forth. But there is benefits to serve only one God rather than having so many masters. Today there is a saying that you cannot serve two masters. Okay, we take this saying lightly, but that's how it is. Okay, by the human nature, you can serve well one master. So it prevents you from ethical conflicts. Because if this master wanted this and this master wanted that, at some point you will be in ethical conflicts. What should you do? But serving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it saves you from ethical conflicts. Allah said, this is what I'm supposed to do, this is what I'm not supposed to do. That's what I'm going to do. Life. Quran says, eat that which is halal and tayyib. Kulu halal and tayyiba. We eat something which is halal, something that Sharia considers permissible, and something which is nice. To protect the nafs, so that you cannot harm yourself. You can enrich, so that you enrich your health. You eat something nice, beneficial to enrich your health. So junky foods that have risk elements, Islam doesn't consider them, not necessarily category of haram, but you are not on the category of tayyib, you are on halal. But the Quran says you use what is halal and tayyib. So of course, yes, sometimes you might not have the tayyib, then you stand on the halal. Use something halal. Junk foods, some stay there on halal, some we simply don't know that they could be really harmful. And that is now the domain of experts to tell you if soda is halal and tayyiba, or soda really is just halal, or some of them really should be makruhun, and to avoid it is better than to use it. And this is the category of some of this junk food. Could be karaha, because little benefit you get compared to the harm that is in it. It's better to leave it rather than use it, etc., etc. So ethical values in Sharia aims also to preserve nafs. So don't kill each other, don't kill others, is to protect life. Progeny, okay. Human generation. Okay, here you are supposed to marry. فانكحوا ما طاب لكم من النساء مثنى وثلاث ورباع. Progeny, to preserve human generations, genealogy, not to be like animals. That this is your son, this is your daughter, and that human civilization retains its chain of genealogy and identity and so on. But zina is filthy because, again, there are so many rationale, but one of it is you lose the identity, the generation. And this is known that sometimes a woman, when he sleeps with so many men, he cannot tell whose father is this child, and so on and so forth. But these are human reasoning that we know is enough for us. ولا تقربوا الزنا إنه كان فاحشة وساء سبيلا. That's enough for believers. And these are other just explanations on it. So mind, don't use alcohol, don't use bang, so that you protect. Iqra, you're supposed to read, you're supposed to learn. It's for the maslaha of the mind, of the intellect. Some of us don't read even books, don't even read the Quran, don't even understand its meaning. We are not continuous learners. Quran is asking us to be eager to learn. من سلك طريقا يلتمس فيه علما سهله الله طريقا إلى الجنة. Somebody who pursue the path of seeking knowledge, Allah make it easy for him, the path to Jannah. الدنيا ملعون ملعون ما فيها. The Prophet said that the earth is cursed and everything in it is cursed, except among them is طالب العلم, somebody who seeks knowledge. They're exempted from the curse that is in the earth and what it is. So we are commanded, is an ethical value of a Muslim to learn of the maslaha of his intellect and his spirituality, among others. Property, mal. There are ethical values that aims to protect property, that you invest the profit, the property, the wealth, mali. You don't hoard it. Islam discourages al-bukhl. It condemns al-bukhl, it condemns israf, it condemns tabdhir. Because all these waste mal, you're wasting these resources. But it requires you to reinvest mal, to generate income, to benefit others, etc., etc., etc. Give zakat, give sadaqah, reinvest it, etc., etc., so that it grows. The Prophet ﷺ said to leave your progeny, to leave your dependents self-sufficient is much better than leaving them poor, depending on others. So here you find ethical values. Islam prohibit ribas, prohibit gharar, prohibit maisirs, to protect mal. So maqasid Sharia in a work, since we're talking about Islamic work ethics again, Sharia has rules applied to contracts related to work. So in work, one of the contracts used in a work setting is mudaraba, where you have an investor, you have somebody with the mal, gives the other person to work, to put labor, to manage that work, that money, and invest and share the profit or losses. This is one of the contractual arrangement in a work setting. Okay, we enter into this contract. One is working for the other and share the profit or losses. Then another is ijara al-amal. This is our employments, of which we are all familiar with. And then the other one is a ju'ala, is a kind of a commissioned agent. You know, I assign you to find something, and if you get it, I'll give you a reward. Okay, so this contract can also be used. So the objective of Sharia in a work is to secure the rights, to protect the rights of workers, of parties in that contract. So if it is in mudaraba contract, to protect the investor, the person who gives capital, and the person who receives capital. So you see rules there of do's and don'ts that seeks to achieve that. So the overall maqasid in a work is achieve rights of contracting parties and not to cause harm. Ethics and business in Islam. In Islam, business and ethics are not separated, but are unified. Business owners, employees, other stakeholders must demonstrate behaviors acceptable to Islam. So the same moral values that bound individuals also apply to businesses. And here there is an interesting concept which I believe I'll prepare a free session to talk about in detail. There's a concept called Ubudiyya business model. Okay, those of us in business consulting, we know there are several models in business. The most renowned and currently propagated now is called the Canvas business model. But together with that, we Muslims, we have to understand what is called Ubudiyya business model. So Islamic business ethics is a center component of Ubudiyya business model. We consider business as ibadah, consider work as ibadah. Okay, and it has its own elements and manifestations. Now, dear brothers and sisters, up to here, I would like to stop a bit and get your comments, your questions, before coming to now illustrated ethical values and violation in life and in business. If there's a question, you can unmute, ask. If there's clarification required, you can unmute and ask. And if there's a comment, contribution, feel free. As I said, we are all students of knowledge. We don't claim to be knowing everything. So I'll be grateful to hear your contributions and so on and so forth. And feel free even to correct. I might have said something wrong. Wallahu a'lam. وفوق كل ذي علم عليم. So is your time now to say something, to contribute. Feel free to do so. And if you cannot unmute or so, you can also drop a text on the chat. I can read and I can read it for others and so on and so forth. Okay. No one wants to ask, so I assume so far so good. So let us proceed with another subsection of the topic. Illustrated ethical values. Now, we remember the equation of adl and ihsan. Now we have this equation of ethical protocols. And this is again borrowed from IOFI, ethical values. They said that ethical values and ethical violations are within these 4 areas. Taqwa, there are certain things that we need to do to increase our taqwa, and there are certain things if we do, it reduces our faith, our taqwa. As we believe in Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, faith increases and decreases. So, akhlaq mahmuda increases our taqwa. And akhlaq madhmuma reduces our taqwa level, our levels of taqwa. Another category is sidqi and amana, quwwa, and we shall see all of them in the next slides. And tawassil bil haqq. A combination of this makes you, it completes your ethical values. Okay. When you do what is supposed to be done under taqwa, you avoid what's supposed to be avoided. On each of these 4 protocols, then you achieve Islamic ethical values. So within the equation that was provided earlier on adli and ihsan, having the right intention and the right mindset, this can be achieved by upholding ethical values on taqwa that I'll talk about them later. Doing the right thing requires sidqi and amana. Doing it the right manner requires quwwah, strength, and engaging others positively, this requires tawasil bil haqq. And as a result of embracing all of this, we achieve full ethical values, ethical virtues as Muslims. So let's look at the first one, which is taqwa. Taqwa is Allah's consciousness. To have consciousness, to be always conscious that Allah is there, God-fearing, remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and obey Him, and avoid every disobedience. Okay? And if you fall into any disobedience, you seek repentance quickly. That's what taqwa is. Okay, be Allah's conscious, God conscious, lisan and dhakiran, you mention Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and so on. Imam Ali summarized it very well, that taqwa is said are 4 things, and he mentioned them, that rida bil qalil, just mentioning them not orderly the way he said it, but it includes rida bil qalil wal amal bil tanzil wal isti'dad al yawm al rahil, among others. So sum it that to be contented with what Allah gives you, to do your actions in line with the Sharia rules, amalu bit tanzil, wal isti'dad al yawm al rahil, and preparing for your hereafter, so on and so forth. So under this protocol of taqwa, we need to have ikhlas. The first ethical value here under taqwa is ikhlas. وَمَا أُمِرُوا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. We have been commanded to do things, to worship Allah with ikhlas. There's a famous saying that halak an-nas illa al-alimun, that people are perished except those with knowledge. Wa halaka al-alimuna illa al-amiluna, that those with knowledge as well have perished except those who act according to what they know. Wa halaka al-amiluna illa al-mukhlasun, that even those who are doing have perished except those who do it for the sake of Allah. If you want the rewards of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you have to do your work sincerely. And this is the first virtue under taqwa, ikhlas. The second virtue under ikhlas is ithar, be selfless, prefer others' good. You know, there is a famous golden rule, well known in the West and well known among you, I believe, that says, do to others what you want to be done to you. حب للناس ما تحب لنفسك. It's an Islamic point of view as well. It's an Islamic standard. But that's not the only standard. We consider this at the lower level of ithar. But there are other levels. The second level here is do to others as they deserve to be done. عامل الناس كما يستحقون أن تعاملوهم. Do things to others as they deserve. So you have a father, you have a mother. They punished you a lot when you were young. They put you a lot in trouble, and maybe even now. So you should reciprocate, do bad to them as well, because the golden rule that we said earlier is do to others what you'd like to be done to you. Under this rule, no, you have no room. You have to do good to your parents because they deserve it. But because there's a clear command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَصَّيْنَا الْإِنسَانَ بِوَالِدَيْهِ إِحْسَانًا. Even if they do bad to you, you have to do good to them. You have to do good to them. So do good as they deserve to be done, as they deserve goodness from you. But there is a higher one, higher golden rule, which says, do good as you wished Allah to do good to you. Do good not for anybody's sake, but because you are doing it, because you expect or you want Allah to look nicely, to do good to you. So you do a particular deed or particular action, or you stop doing a particular action because nothing makes you do it except a hope, raja min Allah, that Allah, by doing this, I expect him to do me good as well. You go to pray 5 times. You hope that by praying 5 times, Allah will reward you. Allah will do good to you. You give sadaqah, you fast, you stay with that hunger and thirst, because you expect Allah to do good to you. You remove harmful object on the road, on the path, because you expect from Allah. Nothing makes you do it except that you want Allah to remove bad things on your life, in your path. This is the highest standard, golden standard. You do good because you want Allah to do good to you. The thought, keep good company is another ethical virtue and a taqwa. To have good friends, good company, to be in a good company, good friends, surround yourself with good people. There's a prophetic hadith that is give an example of a good friend and a bad friend. A good friend is like a seller of perfume. The Prophet said he will either give you the perfume or put a perfume on you, or you will get from him a nice smell if you are in a good company. And if you're in a bad company, it is like a ironsmith. It's like you are in a company of an ironsmith. You will either burn your clothes, or you will get from him smoke, bad smell of smoke. So we need to keep good company and maintain balance, wasatiyah. wasatiyya, to maintain balance, moderation. And this moderation is even in acts of ibadah. Moderation is something within your ability. Moderation in consumption, moderation in everything. وكذلك جعلناكم أمة وسطا. Balance. Reduce clutter. Minimalist. Use israf. Use the resources to the level required. Now here I'll give you an example of water that we waste. We waste in every masjid, we waste a lot of water. Somebody opens the tap, anatawadha, anawacha maji yanamwagika tu. Kuanzia alipoanza mkono maji yanamwagika mpaka anamaliza miguu maji yanamwagika. I'm asking myself, hivi ulipoosha mkono pale ukatia maji mkononi, ulipokuwa unasukutua, kulikuwa kuna haja gani ya maji yale kuendelea kumwagika? Si ungefunga pale, ungefunga pale. Halafu unapokuja kuosha uso, unafungua tena maji, unatia usoni, and then unapaka usoni, halafu unafunga wakati unaendelea kupaka uso wako maji. Wakati unahama kutoka kwenye kimoja kwenda kingine, unashindwa kufunga maji, unaacha maji yanamwagika tu. The Prophet was very minimalist in using water for ablution. Okay, but we are extravagant in using water for ablution, and we don't consider it an issue at all. Okay, in Arabian countries, particularly Saudi Arabia, and in other places like UAE, it's common to go to an ablution space, and you get a reminder there that don't waste water. It's common, but us here in our countries is not a warning at all. You switch off the side. To us is phone. Switch off the phone or put it in silence. But on the ablution section, you'll see no warnings to tell people, to remind people to use water as little as possible, not to waste this ni'mah of water. So minimalist is very important. It's an ethical virtue. Seek repentance. We are humans. We fall. Unaweza ukafanya makosa. But you should always be conscious of this tawbah. That is a tawbah. You can go back to Allah, seek repentance. Now there is a certain philosophy. It's called Jesuits philosophy. Jesuits is a Catholic order. It's a Catholic order that is involved in so many terrible things. They have this principle that says, do and seek forgiveness later. That is the philosophy, that whatever action sanctioned to you as a member of the Jesuit order, if you ask to do something, even to kill somebody by the Pope or your line of authority, you do it. And then you seek repentance later. That's their philosophy. So in this order, this is a sacred order in the Catholic Church, that they can order me or you to be killed, and that order will go to the Jesuit, member of the Jesuit, and that guy will execute it without asking whether Khalfani, you are good or bad. He will do it, and then he will go to the father, to the askofu, and he will be forgiven. You know, you fulfilled the order of the Holy See, so you are good. You're forgiven. You know, we don't have this mentality. Unfortunately, it penetrates in our society these days. We see guys, you know, kufa kwaja bana, ponda mali, kuja kufa kwaja. So yani put to waste whatever, kunywa, lewa, poteza hii, kifanya hivyo, utatubia bana. Inshallah, tatubia. Fika mzee kidogo tatubia. A Muslim is conscious of his virtues and he monitors himself. He knows that he is sinful. He will do things wrong. So he is always closer to the door of Tawbah. And the Prophet is teaching us when he said, Ya ayuhan nasu astaghfiru rabbakum. فَإِنِّي أَسْتَغْفِرُ رَبِّي فِي يَوْمِ 70 مَرَّةً. Prophet said, seek repentance, always, constantly, every day. Ask Allah to forgive you. You go there to pray thinking of so many other things. You were supposed to stand there thinking of Him. You are not there. Okay, you consider you have prayed 5 times, but me and you knows we are not giving it full attention. So knowing that humbles you to seek forgiveness every day, seek Allah's forgiveness. We have families, we have wives, we have husbands. To what extent we think we fulfill our obligations to our wives and kids? Are we thinking that we are doing perfectly to our wives, our husbands, our kids, our neighbors? The Prophet ﷺ said, La yuminu ahadukum. He has not believed among you somebody who hurts his neighbor. And we do that sometimes just by the noises of our cars. We don't consider that, of course, as something bothering. So many things that we could be doing to our neighbors that are not good. There is a story in Japan that Japanese have designed the toilets to an extent that when you enter into that toilet and you want to do your things, heavy call, not a short call, a long call. And sometimes as a human nature, when you do a long call, there's a lot of sounds that comes out of you. Now, the Japanese have designed a toilet to make sure that noises of yours, which are not good, somebody to hear those noises. Okay. So they've designed a toilet whereby when you are in that state of giving those sounds, you press some button and that buttons gives out the noise of flushing as if water is flushing. Okay, well, there is nothing is flushed, just the sound, so that the other guy who is in the next of your toilet or so on, he cannot hear you. I don't have an English word to that. But I hope you understand, not to hear you vurugu unayotoa ukiwa pale chooni. So you press a button, the flush sound comes, okay, to cover you that and to not to annoy the other person. You can imagine they have reached that level of not sending a bad sound to your neighbor. Oh my God, come to us in Daladala. Oh, subhanAllah. Okay. We don't care so many things. So Tawbah, we should always embrace Tawbah. Always seek Allah's forgiveness. You and I are sinful. We are not doing to the best of what is expected of us. We have a lot of shortcomings. Now, the ethical violation under taqwa is to do sinful things while you know. This is now the ethical violation under taqwa. The ethical virtues under taqwa increases your faith, increases your iman. Now, this one reduces your iman. Sin, when you know that riba is haram and you do riba, that's an obvious sin. If you know, and you know lying is sinful and you do it, that's sinful. And if you know all those akbarul kabair that we should know, we Muslims should be able to know akbarul kabair, the gravest sins in Islam, as documented by several scholars. And one of them is Al-Dhahabi, Imam Al-Dhahabi, whose book is very important to be in every Muslim home. أكبر الكبائر في الإسلام by Imam al-Zahabi. Should be well known to know all the sins, major sins in Islam. We should know them and avoid them. Transgression, عدوان. ولا تعاونوا وتعاونوا على البر والتقوى ولا تعاونوا على الإثم والعدوان. Transgression, oppression. We should avoid those, either transgressing the boundaries of Allah, transgressing the rights of others, etc., etc. Ghafla. We should not be headlessness. Don't remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala either in our hearts, neither in our lisans. The Prophet taught us adhkar al-sabah wal-masa, things to say morning and evening. Should not be neglectful. Forget that we are in the CCTV of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is watching us. Raqib is ever watching you and me. And if we have that, it will really be a force to stop us from so many other things. You know, one of the reasons why we commit a lot of ethical violations that is documented in the Quran is that we forget that Allah is watching us. And the moment you forget that, think you are alone. Well, you are not alone. So we should avoid the ghafla. So that is taqwa, ethical violation on taqwa. Now let's go to tawakkul, which is another important ethical protocol. Tawakkul is reliance on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Trust Allah Almighty will and decree. Be content with the outcome after having optimally exhausted all available and accessible resources at hand. You know, one of my teacher was died recently. The Sheikh, maybe Sheikh Salim Lupani remind me his name. One of the Sheikh that we buried very recently of Chamazi, Islamic. Don't know if you remember the name of that Sheikh. Subhanallah. He told me at we had a small camp in Tanga. It's called the Pongwe Islamic Seminary School. He used to tell us there is tawakkul and there is tawakkul. Reliance of Allah, and there is laziness. These are two different things. So reliance to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is you are content with the outcome after having optimally exhausted all available and accessible resources at hand. You have done everything possible. You are not even applying a job and then you're saying, I'm relying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give me a job. How many jobs are you applying per day? How is that tawakkul? That is tawakkul. That's laziness. So an ethical virtue here, number one, is preserve Sharia authenticity. When you design a product, for example, if you are manufacturing, make sure that product complies to Sharia rules 100%. Preserve Sharia authenticity of what you do. Now, I normally meet people in halal business management, and I take them through the 10 blocks of halal business. And to your surprise that we sell things that are not maintaining Sharia authenticity. It is a certain percent Sharia compliant, the other is not. Look at those who are selling consumable products, foods and so on. Whether they even care to ensure the whole food chain is halal, is Sharia compliant, or they simply concerned with the end results. So preserve Sharia authenticity in your behaviors. Be hopeful and positive to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Husnul dhannu billah, husnul dhannu bin nas. Make regular dua. This is an ethical virtue under tawakkul. You ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Defer gratifications. Okay. Defer instant gratification. There are certain things that you have to do for a long time to get certain desired results. If you want to be a scholar, you have to learn. You have to research. You have to sit to be taught. And that takes a long time. But if you want to mix it up with other things, you will not achieve what you want. Defer gratification. If you want to earn halal income, you have to do halal business. And sometimes it is not what might give you instant benefit. But if you do it seeking Allah's pleasure, you will be blessed and you will be contented with what you get. Ethical violations in tawakkul is a belief and justify the means mantra. A Muslim should not have this attitude. Lack of sabr is also a problem that we have. We are not patient with our leaders. We are not patient in our business. We are not patient with our employers. We are not patient even with ourselves. Misuse of resources. Ethical violation. As-sidq is another ethical protocol, which is integrity. Achieve consistency and persistence in as well as harmony between beliefs, intention, words, and action. So here, the ethical virtue is enhanced transparency. Yani your public life and your private life, there's no mismatch. Some of us have double lives. We live in public this way, in private the other way, etc., etc. Let's look at enhanced transparency and openness in your family, in your organization. Give information. Have a honest dialogue. Communicate your intentions clearly so that people don't end up thinking you have other intentions in doing certain things or in behaving in a certain way. Be very honest with your intentions. Detect and control unethical practices. Welcome feedback. Umar ibn al-Khattab is reported to have somebody move with him wherever he goes, and that guy whose job is only one, was to remind the Khalifa if he said or did something wrong. Khalifa Umar ibn al-Khattab is working with somebody just to do that job, to watch him and give him a feedback. Oh, that's human, you know. To err is human. And if you get a service of somebody to watch you and tell you where your errors are so that you can amend them, so that you can improve yourselves, that's important. 6, feedback. This is the hardest reality we have in our society these days. If you give somebody a feedback, he hates you, thinks you're an enemy. Disregard and discourage negative rumors. Make flexible and accommodating rules in your organization so that people don't end up doing unethical things. You want staff or employees to come at 7. And we know at 7 it's not easy to report at work at 7. These people will lie to you every day. Make it flexible and accommodating rules. Build and strengthen communication. Remove fear of retribution for feedback that you will receive or for correcting an error. Sometimes we do something wrong and we fail, or we don't come back to correct it because we fear retribution. If I'll correct it, I'll suffer the consequence. So let it be. Wacha iende. But at that time, you had limited knowledge. Say you thought that's the right thing, but later on you discovered that policy, that procedure is wrong. But you don't want to come back and change it because maybe the boss will punish you, or there's something harmful that will happen to you. We should not put fears in correcting our mistakes. We should not make people fear to correct us. And if I say this, I'll be fired. We have this in organization. Fear of retribution. If you propose something different from the leader's point of view or something like that. Maintain high expectations of honesty. كل حق ولو كان مرة. Speak the truth even if it's hurtful to you or to those who listens to you. Now in Siddiqi, there are so many violations here. I'll not talk or discuss all of these, but since they are in my presentation, you will have the presentation and read yourselves. They are quite clearing. So ethical violation under Siddiq is lying. This is very clear. Empty promises, plagiarism, paltering. These are all ethical violations. As you can see, there's so many others down here. These are ethical violations. False oath, rumor mongering, quoting out of context. We tend to do this so many often, so many times. Tilting. And all of these ethical violations have been explained here. Slander, half-truth. All these are ethical violations that we need to be aware of them and avoid them. Kusengenyana, the toxic culture that we have. Non-verbal violations of Siddiq is unfair discrimination, stereotyping, hypocrisy, misrepresentations, among others. So moving to another ethical protocol, which is amana, we have to be trustworthiness. Honor and fulfill our duties. Use our powers properly. Fulfill our responsibilities in the particular role, rank, or position. So the ethical virtue here under amana, number one, is promote Islam and Muslims' interest. Before your self-interest. This is something we have forgotten really in our society. We belong to several organizations or certain parties. Those parties have policies, or those organizations have policies that are really, some of them harmful to Muslims or to the society at large. And we are there, working in those institutions, working with those parties for our self-interest. That is the ethical egoism, because we benefit out of it. It's good for us, so I don't care. Inna aradna al-amana. We have amana, and the greatest amana we have is Islam. and our brothers, our Muslims brothers, and then the rest of humanity. We have to promote our faith, our Muslim interest, our human interest. You don't produce a product like cigarette. Whose interest is that? Is that in the interest of humanity? Who benefits out of interest? The government says it gets taxes, but it harms people. We all know what cigarette does. The humanity suffers for the gains of a few gains of taxes, collecting taxes. Gambling, people lose their wealth, and we see gambling stores everywhere in our streets, just because the government gets tax out of it. It's not in human interest. Many suffer for the benefits of the few. Egoism, there's a lot of cases of ethical egoism being pursued, either by government or by those running this business. They're looking for their own self-interest. So we, under Amana, the first virtue is promote Islam and Muslim interest. Don't ask what Islam does to you. What are you doing for Islam? What are you doing for your Muslim brothers and sisters, for the humanity? And then later on comes your interest. Share resources. Be willing to share. Share knowledge. Share your time. Share your wealth with others. This is Amana. You have knowledge, share it. Teach it. Write books. Share it. You have wealth, share it, etc., etc. So these are under Amana, things that have been entrusted to you. You have to fulfill your responsibility. Now, the violations under Amana can be categorized into different categories. The first violation on Amana is under human beings. If you have staffs, if you have a worker at your home, maid, and so on, lack of empowerment, giving somebody responsibility without adequate power or resources for its proper execution. And the Prophet ﷺ warned us about this when he said, when a responsibility is given to somebody who doesn't deserve it, you wait for the hour, Qiyamah, فَانْتَظِرُوا السَّاعَةَ. And what does that mean? It simply means destruction. As-sa'a, Qiyamah, is a destruction. That's all that will come. So if you appoint somebody in a certain role, give somebody a certain task, you have to make sure he has the required knowledge, skills, powers to execute that role. Dehumanizing treatment, these are violations. Under Amana, we have staffs under us. You are a boss, you are the owner of the enterprise, you are the figurehead in the family. Don't dehumanize others. Destroying work-life balance, strangulations. There's so many of these ethical violations that time doesn't allow me to go to each, but these slides will be made available to you that you can read, and they're quite straightforward concepts. They are not Chinese or something. Human dignity should avoid violence, abuse, immodesty in speech, behavior, or appearance. Resources, we should not misuse resources. These are Amana. These are things under us. We should not steal. Should not misappropriate. Money laundering. Should not do tax evasion. Okay, this is very debatable, but there's tax avoidance, which you can do, but tax evasion is, among scholars in these secular countries, have different views. I don't want to be quoted here. So it says tax evasion here you should avoid, not paying or underpaying tax illegally. Israf, excessive spending, should avoid that. Again, stinginess, excessive greed, bribery, lack of due diligence, unauthorized use, using other people's things without their permission. This is an ethical violation under amana. Information. We receive information from others. Okay, are we treated confidentially as it deserves? Somebody comes and tells you, this is between me and you. You said yes. And he says what he says. And then after that, you go and tell somebody else. You have forgotten that he said you, and you said yes. He said, this is between us. That means it's a confidential thing. And then you end up spreading it to others. That is lack of amana of information. Invasion of privacy, backbiting, blackmailing, intellectual properties. We need also to uphold the rights of others on copyrights, trade secrets. Okay. Also avoid data theft. These are ethical violations under amana. So there's so many of these ethical violations under this category, which you can read and get a clear explanations on that particular point. Time doesn't allow me to go to each specific violation. On the environment side, we also need to protect the environment. It's amana under us, it's under our watch. وَالَّذِي جَعَلَكُمْ مُسْتَخْلَفِينَ فِي الْأَرْضِ. We have made, Allah has made us caliphs on this earth for islaha, to make it better than we found it. But we're ending up harming it and leave it bad than we found it. This is lack of amana. Okay, we tend to produce too much waste. Should avoid wastages. Quwwa. Another protocol in ethics is quwwa, that should have a strength, have and on continuing basis the intellectual, psychological, and physical power, capacity, and capability at a level required for the fulfillment of a responsibility or execution of a task. If you have been given a task to do something, okay, you need to make sure that you take that responsibility while or after assessing yourself, you're capable, or you are able to acquire necessary capabilities to do the work. So you are appointed a responsibility. You don't know even where to start. You are not even committed to learn, to know what to do, but you are there. We call these vacant leaders. You know, you are a leader in an organization, but you don't even know what the mission and the vision of that organization. Where do you want to take that organization? You don't even know your responsibility to execute. You think your responsibility is to give orders. You are a leader to work. You have been given leadership position to do a work. And your followers to assist you. If they don't assist you, it's still your work. That's why you're a leader. A leader of a family to do certain things there. So if your kid doesn't do certain thing, doesn't mean that it's not a responsibility. You have to do it. Find another person to do it. Equip the person to do it. So you should have the required strength to do it. So here, ethical virtue is proficiency at work. Do a work proficiently. And then invest in professional development. Continuous learning. So proficiency at work is an ethical virtue of a Muslim, to learn from everyone. There is a saying among scholars that says, Al-ilmu dhallatul mu'min. Wherever he finds it, he's entitled to it. Aynama wajaduhu fahuwa ahaqqu biha. Knowledge is something, is a property of a Muslim. Wherever you find it, you are more entitled to it. The scholars, Dr. Yusuf al-Qaradawi, used to say, Al-ilmu bida'atuna. That knowledge is our bida'a, is our goods, our product. Yes, we are the fountain of knowledge, golden age. The source of so many knowledge is our bida'a. The West took it from us, developed it, put some good things, put some bad things on it, corrupted it, perfected it. It's upon us when we get to access to the knowledge to be able to take the good thing, because it's bida'atuna. Self-evaluate, establish an informal personal panel of mentors, be organized. On the quwa, you learn, but you also teach others. Practice critical thinking. In skills, you have to enhance your skills, communication skills, relationship management skills, leadership skills, project management skills, collaboration skills, negotiation skills. There's so many skills that are vital, that gives you the quwa, give you the strength. Emotional intelligence, among others. The attitude. Again, you have to remain curious. Embrace responsibilities within your capacity wholeheartedly. Redefine the concept of competition, not to see others as competing with you. You know, sometimes we have this thinking of this is my competitor, so I cannot work with him, or we cannot cooperate, or things like that. Totally. No. It should not be that way. We should be able to work together as well, cooperate. Violations. Ethical violation under quwa is ineptitude. Continually lack in skill or ability required to perform the task. You don't know, and you still continue to remain not knowing. Indolence, being lazy or idle, always thinking others will do, not you. Poor work output, procrastination, indecisiveness. These are ethical violations. Unpreparedness, being habitually unprepared and ill-equipped for meetings, projects, or other tasks. This is an ethical violation. Insubordination, illegal actions, not seeking religious knowledge. Most of us have invested a lot of time, a lot of financial, become accountant, engineers, doctors. But the same person is not willing to invest even a half of what he invested to learn about his Islam, about ibadat, about commercial transactions, about family. That's an ethical violation. Not seeking professional knowledge, not developing personal skills, professional skills. So there's so many ethical violations here that time doesn't allow me to go into details. This presentation will be available to you, and you will get all that information. The last protocol is tawasul bil haqq. Encourage others to do good and avoid evil. So here in tawasul bil haqq, there are certain ethical virtues. We need to understand others, not judge, not rush in judging others. Take time out and make the effort to genuinely know about, understand, connect, relate, care for others at a personal level. We tend to be very judgmental. We lack understanding of others. Somebody could be doing something bad, and we are quick to judge him rather than understanding what happened, what's happened, and give him excuses. We are told by our scholars, give that excuses to your brother 70 times. But that is just in the books, not among us. Understand others. We tend to the bad of others and magnify them to the extent that we belittle their goodness. Somebody has been doing good for the rest of his life for the ummah. He does someone wrong and is magnified to belittle all the good things. That's not right. As a society, okay? we are all sinners or potential sinners. But we need to acknowledge, understand he's good at this and he made an error there. There could be this or that circumstances that led him to. May Allah forgive him. Empathize. Pursue altruism. Be a role model and a mentor. These are ethical values. Become a facilitator. Make things easy for people. Yassiru wa la tu'assiru. Make things easier for others. Don't complicate it. Don't make it hard by forgiving, being merciful, being cheerful, among others. Be humble. Stand up for the truth. These are ethical virtues. Ethical violations under tawassul bil haq is impatience, showing irritability or restlessness when trying to behave ethically and in accordance with applicable law. Kutokuwa na subra. Selfishness, binafsi, anania, indifference, kutokujali. Whether it's good, it's bad. As long as I'm getting my mkate or I'm getting my glory, my fame, I don't care. That is an ethical violation. Unethical for unethical. Somebody does to you bad and you do the bad thing. He lied, I lied. He stole, I steal. He broke his promise, I break my promise to him. That's not acceptable. Failure to cooperate in investigation. You are required to contribute, to assist in an investigation of matters of public interest, and you don't cooperate. So that is all about the akhlaqum mahmuda wa akhlaqum madhmuma. I'll wind or go towards ending of my slides by highlighting ethical benefits of ethical conduct. It will be not complete if not mentioning what is the benefits of an ethical conduct, of upholding ethical virtues. So the first is from the spiritual standpoint. The Prophet ﷺ said, "Shall I tell you about the most beloved of you to me and the closest to my assembly on the day of resurrection?" They were silent. So the Prophet repeated 2 to 3 times. Then they said, "Yes, O Messenger of Allah." He said, "Those with the best character. Those with best character will be closer to the Messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of resurrection." And it is reported in several hadith, there is no good deed that is heavier in mizan, in the scale of human deeds, than good character. Umar ibn al-Khattab used to say, "Kunu du'atullahu bi akhlaqikum. Kunu du'atullahi wa antum samitun." Call people to Islam while you are quiet, you are not talking. Those around him asked him, "How can that be possible?" He said, "Bi akhlaqikum," with your manner, with your characters. Wallahi, if we uphold character as Muslims in Tanzania or anywhere Muslims are, the best da'wah you can do is to demonstrate Islamic virtues. These virtues we have talked about, to practice them. And the least of this whole character, because suppose somebody will say, now there's so many, we have seen here, there's so many. What are the minimum? The minimum 4 are summarized in this hadith here. Sifatul munafiqu thalatha or arba' in other hadith. We should simply avoid these very ugly characters. He said the 4 characteristics, whoever has them is a pure hypocrite. So from the spiritual standpoint, the benefits of upholding noble characters is you will not be categorized as munafiq. وَالْمُنَافِقُونَ فِي الدَّرْكِ الْأَسْفَلِ مِنَ النَّارِ. And the hypocrite will be at the lower level of hell. And what are the characteristics of hypocrisy? إِذَا حَدَثَ كَذَبَ. When he speaks, he lies. إِذَا وَعَدَ أَخْلَفَ. When he promises, he breaks. وَإِذَا تُؤْمِنَ خَانًا. When he is entrusted, whatever that is given, be a secret, be a property, anything is entrusted to under his watch, he betrays it. And in another hadith, وَإِذَا خَصَمَ فَجَرَ. And when he's in conflict, he behaves badly. If he's in dispute with another person, he is worse. So the minimum akhlaq among all that we have talked here, minimum we should embrace is, let's be honest, let's be trustworthy. The Prophet used to have these 2 characters, as-sadiq al-amin, sadiq al-amin, and it raised him to have the higher ranks. So we have to be trustful, trustworthy, keep our promises, even to our little ones, our employees, our maids, our neighbors, whoever, Muslim and non-Muslim, we promise, we keep it. And when you are in dispute, behave honorably. We see in the groups, people quarrels and they start behaving in a way that, oh, subhanallah. One wrong, you shoot. You know, you become impatient and you break yourself, and you know, no, have sabr, yani. Have sabr. It will pass, and respond nicely.